Picture this, it's 1989. A young Canadian man named David Chilton writes a personal finance book. He is not a famous economist, not a Wall Street veteran. He does not have a television show or a podcast or a verified social media account because none of those things exist yet. He is just a guy from Waterloo, Ontario who understood money and had a pretty good idea about how to explain it. The book is set in a barbershop. The financial wisdom is dispensed by a barber named Roy between haircuts. When Chilton finished writing it, the major publishers told him the concept was too unusual, too conversational, too simple, so he self-published it. Sold over 2.1 million copies in Canada alone, making it one of the best-selling books in Canadian history. Its cultural impact has been compared to Margaret Atwood. It has been called the best personal finance book ever written for regular people. In November 2025, 36 years after the original, Chilton rewrote it completely from scratch for a new generation, and it became a bestseller within 1 week of release. A book about a barber, set in a small town, teaching 7 lessons about money. And the reason it worked and keeps working across 3 decades and multiple generations, it is not complicated. It is because the advice is true, it is simple, and David Chilton delivers it the way a wise friend would. Without jargon, without condescension, without pretending money is more complicated than it actually is. Today we are going through all of it. This book was included in the class curriculum when I was in college. The content didn't totally sink in the first time, then I read it multiple times after I got out of school. In my 20s and 30s, there are some valuable content I learned from the book and I want to share with you. Hope they will benefit you as well. Let's start. Welcome back or welcome for the first time. This channel is about building real, lasting wealth with practical strategies that actually work. Subscribe if that is your kind of content. Quick note before we dive in. The Wealthy Barber is technically a Canadian book, and some of its original account-specific advice, RRSP, TFSA, and similar registered accounts, is Canada-focused. But the core lessons are universal. Pay yourself first. Harness compound interest. Protect what you have left within your means. Prepare for the unexpected. These principles have no passport. They apply in every country where humans earn money and make choices about what to do with it. I will note where something is Canada-specific, and I will translate the concept for the broader audience. The lessons travel well, trust me. Let me introduce you to Roy. The book works as a story. 3 young adults in their late 20s, Dave, Tom, and Cassie, visit the local barber, Roy Miller. Roy is a barber who never made a high income. But he has, through decades of disciplined, simple financial habits, become quietly wealthy. This setup is not accidental. Chilton chose a barber on purpose. Not a banker, not a financial advisor, not a hedge fund manager, a barber. Because the point of the entire book is that you do not need specialized knowledge, a high income, or access to insider secrets to build wealth. You need simple habits applied consistently over a long time. Each month, Dave, Tom, and Cassie come in for a haircut. Between snips, Roy teaches them a lesson. By the end of the book, they have received 7 lessons covering the full foundation of personal financial planning. And here is what makes the format brilliant. Roy is not lecturing. He is not impressive or intimidating. He is cutting someone's hair and talking about money the way you talk about sports or the weather, conversationally, with humor, with patience for basic questions. The 3 young adults ask the questions you would ask. Roy gives the answers you actually need. No jargons, no judgments, just clarity. The book has been described as the most accessible personal finance book ever written. One review summed it up. Reading it is not anywhere near as painful as most finance books, which is perhaps the most honest compliment in the genre's history. The 2025 rewrite updated the accounts, the investment vehicles, and the examples. But Roy is still there, still cutting hair, still giving advice that remarkably did not expire. Here it is, the big ones, the lesson that runs through every page of the book, every chapter, every haircut. The lesson that Chilton calls the crown jewel of all personal finance advice. Pay yourself first. Before you pay rent. Before you pay utilities. Before you buy groceries or make a car payment or pay for any of the many things competing for your paycheck, 10% of your income goes directly into a long-term savings and investment account. Automatically, on the day you are paid, before any other spending decision is made. 10% off the top, every paycheck, every time. The reason this works is not complicated. It is about sequencing. Most people save what is left over at the end of the month. What is left over is almost always nothing. Spending expands to fill available income. Roy's insight is that you simply cannot trust yourself to save what is left. The leftover strategy has a 100% failure rate for the vast majority of people. So you change the sequence. The savings move first. Then you live on what remains. Here is why 10% was Roy's number. It is enough to build real wealth over a working lifetime through compound growth, but it is not so large that it breaks most people's budgets if they are genuinely committed. Could you save more? Absolutely. Should you? Yes. But 10% is the minimum viable habit, the floor, not the ceiling. The mechanism matters as much as the amount. Automatic transfer. Same day as your paycheck. Different account. Out of sight. Not easily accessible for impulse decisions. The behavioral design is the point. You are not relying on willpower at the end of the month. You are building a system that removes willpower from the equation. 2025 survey found that 58% of Americans have less than $5,000 saved total. Most of them intended to save. Intention is not the problem. Sequencing is. Pay yourself first solves the sequencing problem in one account setting change. Roy's second lesson, and the one that makes pay yourself first so powerful over time, is compound interest. And to his enormous credit, Chilton explains it in the most human way possible. Here is the Wealthy Barber version of compound interest. You put money in an account. The account earns interest. Next year you earn interest not just on your original money, but on the interest from last year too. And the year after you earn interest on the original money, the first year's interest and the second year's interest. Every year the base grows. Every year the interest payment grows with it. Slowly at first, dramatically later. Roy's favorite way to illustrate this: a single dollar invested at a reasonable long-term return given enough decades becomes many dollars, not through any cleverness, not through timing the market or picking the right stock, but simply through time. Time is the ingredient most people underestimate because it feels free and therefore invisible. Here is a concrete example using real current numbers. 25-year-old who saves $300 per month, which is exactly 10% of a $36,000 annual salary, in a broadly diversified index fund earning a 7% average annual return, will have approximately $795,000 by age 65. They contributed $144,000 of their own money over 40 years. The remaining $651,000 came from compound growth. That is more than 4 times their own contributions, generated by time and consistency, not financial genius. Start at 35 instead of 25. Same $300 per month, same return. You end up with approximately $340,000. The 10-year delay cost you $455,000. Not because you saved less per month. Because time, the free ingredient, was shorter. Roy's point: compound interest rewards early starters disproportionately. The most expensive financial mistake you can make is waiting to begin. Not investing poorly. Not paying too much in fees, waiting. That is the most costly error. The 2025 update of the Wealthy Barber replaced Chilton's original mutual fund recommendations with index fund ETF, which are low-cost, broadly diversified, passive. Roy now recommends what the evidence consistently shows works best over time: boring, consistent, low-fee investing that gets out of its own way. Here is where Chilton does something other personal finance books rarely do. He dedicates serious attention to the protection side of wealth, wills, life insurance, and disability insurance. The unsexy stuff. The stuff people put off because thinking about it requires acknowledging that bad things happen. Roy's message is simple and a little uncomfortable. If you have people who depend on you financially, a spouse, children, aging parents, and you die or become disabled without the right protection in place, you have not just failed to build wealth. You have actively harmed the people who love you. This is not a small matter. It is a moral one. Life insurance basics according to Roy: if anyone depends on your income, you need enough life insurance to replace that income for a meaningful period. Term life insurance is almost always the right answer for most people. Pure protection, no investment component, low cost, straightforward. Avoid using life insurance as an investment vehicle unless you have very specific reasons and a very specific plan. Disability insurance is the one Chilton emphasizes that most people completely ignore. Here is the uncomfortable statistic he would highlight if the book were written today: you are statistically far more likely to become disabled during your working years than you are to die. Yet most people carry life insurance and nothing else. A long-term disability that prevents you from working is financially catastrophic without protection. Can wipe out savings, derail retirement timelines, and devastate families. Term disability coverage through your employer or privately is worth every dollar. On wills, if you have assets, dependents, or opinions about what should happen to your money when you die, and most adults have at least 2 of these 3, you need a will. A surprisingly high percentage of adults do not have one. Without a will, the government decides what happens to your estate according to rules that may bear no resemblance to your actual wishes. Roy's point: you cannot build a solid financial house without also protecting it. The foundation is pay yourself first. The walls are compound growth. But the roof, the thing that protects everything inside, is insurance and estate planning. Roy has views on homeownership that are both more nuanced and more practical than most financial advice on the topic. His position is not always buy or renting is throwing money away, the two most common and equally oversimplified arguments. His position is closer to owning your home can be a valuable component of long-term financial security, but it is not a substitute for investing, and it should not consume so much of your income that nothing is left for your other financial priorities. In the 2025 updated edition, Chilton addresses the current housing reality directly, particularly relevant for younger Canadians and Americans facing markets where median home prices in major cities require household incomes well above the median to afford comfortably. His updated advice accounts for the home buyer's plan, first home savings accounts, and the very real possibility that for some people in some markets, homeownership may be delayed or may not be the right choice at all. The 10% commitment to long-term investing comes first regardless of whether you rent or own. On retirement, Roy's retirement lesson is an extension of Pay Yourself first applied specifically to retirement accounts. The lesson is early, consistent, tax-advantaged. Use whatever retirement account your country makes available, a 401k, an IRA, an RRSP, a TFSA, and maximize contributions to them before investing elsewhere, because the tax treatment compounds alongside the investment returns. The specific lesson Chilton emphasizes: do not borrow against your retirement savings. Do not cash out when you change jobs. Do not pause contributions during market downturns. These three behaviors together are responsible for a large portion of the gap between what people's retirement accounts could have been and what they actually are. Each interruption removes not just the principal withdrawn, but all future compounding on that principal, often amounting to 3 or 4 times the original withdrawal over a full career. Roy's sixth lesson is about debt, and his position is unambiguous. Consumer debt, like credit card balances, personal loans, financing things you should save up for, is the single most reliable destroyer of financial progress. Not because debt is always wrong, but because consumer debt almost always carries interest rates that work powerfully against you. Here is Roy's observation: a want becomes a need very quickly for most people. You want a new couch becomes you need a new couch. You want a newer car becomes you need a newer car. Consumer credit enables the upgrade to happen quickly and before you actually saved for it. At the end, the couch arrives. The interest bill also arrives and keeps arriving. The rule Roy prescribes: if you cannot pay for it when the credit card bill comes in full, you probably should not buy it. Consumer debt financed at high interest rates is not a bridge to a better life. It is a tax on impatience. The things you finance at 20% interest cost you significantly more than their sticker price. And the money you spend on interest could have been compounding in your investment account instead. The seventh and final lesson is the one that ties the whole book together. Live within your means, and be honest about the difference between your needs and your wants. Chilton's observation, and this is the line from the book that has stuck with readers for 35 years, is that too many people try to keep up with the Joneses without realizing the Joneses are broke. The neighbor with the nicer car and the bigger house and the annual vacation is not necessarily wealthier. They may simply have a higher debt load and a more comfortable relationship with financial fragility. Living within your means is not a deprivation strategy. It is a clarity strategy. When you are clear about what you actually need versus what you want because someone else has it, you gain control over your financial decisions instead of outsourcing them to social comparison. That clarity applied consistently over decades is what allowed Roy the Barber to become wealthy on a barber's income, not luck. Not a windfall, not a secret investment. Just clarity, discipline, and time. Let us land this. The Wealthy Barber has sold over 2.1 million copies in Canada alone, in a country of fewer than 40 million people. It was so widely read that entire generations of Canadians share a cultural reference point. Roy the Barber, haircuts and financial advice, 10% off the top. The 2025 update rewrote everything except the core. Roy is still there. The advice is still the same. Because after 36 years, through recessions, financial crises, housing booms, market crashes, and a global pandemic, the fundamentals did not change. Here are the 7 lessons in 30 seconds. Pay yourself first. 10% off every paycheck automatically before any other spending. Harness compound interest. Start early. Be boring. Be consistent. Give time the respect it deserves. Protect what you have. Life insurance if people depend on you. Disability insurance because the odds are higher than you think. A will because the government's default plan for your estate is not your plan. Own your homes thoughtfully. It is not a get-rich strategy. It is one component of a balanced approach. Invest for retirement early and consistently. Use every tax-advantaged account available. Never interrupt the compounding. Avoid consumer debt. If you cannot pay for it in full when the bill arrives, reconsider whether you actually need it now. Live within your means. Know the difference between a want and a need. Stop performing wealth for people you do not actually care about. None of these lessons require a high income. None of them require specialized knowledge. None of them require timing the market or finding a hot investment or getting lucky. They require understanding and consistency. That is the whole formula. Roy has been delivering it between haircuts since 1989. If this summary resonated with you, and I genuinely hope it did, the book is worth reading in full. Chilton is funny, warm, and non-judgmental in a way that this summary can gesture at, but cannot fully replicate. Go read it. And in the meantime, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with someone who needs Roy's 7 lessons today. See you in the next one.